For more now on how Syria is affecting an already tense relationship between the U.S. and Russia, I'm joined by Stephen Fish, a professor at the University of California, Berkeley. Professor Fish, welcome back to the show. We appreciate your time. You know, despite all the tough talk exchange leading up to this G20 summit, it was all smiles during the Obama-Putin photo op. So how much of this discord comes from Putin and Obama actually being uncomfortable with each other, and what has led up to this point?
It's hard to say. The two men clearly are not good friends. They don't seem to enjoy each other's company very much. But it's important also to remember that each one is very pragmatic about this relationship. The Russian president knows perfectly well that he needs good relations with the United States, at least reasonably good relations. And President Obama knows that good relations with Russia provide big advantages to the United States. So I think the personal relationship is not warm, but that won't necessarily affect U.S.-Russia relations in any deep sense.
Well, was it a mistake then when Obama canceled this sideline meeting with Putin? Couldn't it have been a really good major opportunity for these two leaders to talk? Or were either leader being petty?
I don't think they were being petty, and I don't frankly think it was all that great an opportunity for them to talk. They can talk through many fora. They can talk privately. They can speak by telephone. They speak through, of course, their diplomats. President Obama wanted to express some displeasure with things that were going on in the U.S.-Russia relationship. President Putin was expressing plenty of displeasure as well. He recently said that Secretary Kerry had been lying. He said that very openly. So clearly the rhetoric is rather negative on both sides. But again, I don't think that necessarily represents a serious deterioration in U.S.-Russia relations that will have long-term implications.
But there really aren't that many opportunities for them to be together face to face. I mean, they're both right there. What would it hurt that they just don't take a few minutes just to talk about some of these issues? Did they not think anything would come out of it anyway?
I think both men are very smart about these kinds of things, and generally speaking, if one of them decides to cancel, there's a symbolic significance in that. They're trying to signal to the opinion in the other country, to world public opinion, and to their own publics that they're displeased with the way things are going. But these kinds of gestures tend to be symbolic, and when they sit down and speak together, chat for a few minutes, it frankly doesn't have a big impact on relations. I don't really think too much should be made of this.
You mentioned that both countries need each other. They know that. So what will it take for both the U.S. and Russia to come to any kind of consensus, whether it's Syria or anything else that they've been disagreeing on recently?
You know, that's a very good question. I think it's looking increasingly unlikely that there's going to be any sort of consensus, any agreement between the United States and Russia on Syria. It looks like the Russian government is really bent on defending the Assad regime to the bitter end, no matter what. That did not necessarily look like it was going to be the case a year ago when Dmitry Medvedev and Vladimir Putin, Prime Minister and the President of Russia, were both making clear, or at least Medvedev was, that it was possible that Russia would not stand by Assad to the bitter end. Recently, though, President Putin has taken a much harder stance and decided really to kind of put Russia out there on Assad's side unconditionally. Obviously, this is not something that goes down well with the United States, nor with, for that matter, with Turkey or Saudi Arabia or some other countries in the Middle East. So it looks like the battle lines are drawn very much on Syria, but that does not exclude productive cooperation in other areas, fighting terrorism, energy, the economy, big national security issues, nuclear arms control. These are things that the United States and Russia still both have a big stake in and on which there's a great deal of common interest.
All right, Professor Stephen Fish, thank you so much for joining us from Berkeley.